Hi, welcome to the Online Jewelry Academy. I'm Professor John R. and I'm your instructor. I got a little story for you. I was walking past a construction site the other day and I looked down on the curb and I saw this piece of cut off grounding wire that some electrician had just tossed aside, and I thought, what can I do with this garbage? And I thought, it's jewelry. So I went home and I fashioned this forged anticlastic ring made from a 6-gauge copper grounding wire. Eureka! So the next time you go through the hardware store and you walk down the electrical aisle, think of all the jewelry that's just waiting for you to make. Now, to make something like this, what you're going to need is a striking surface, some pliers. I have flat nose, chain nose, and I have a pair of half round pliers to help tweak things. I have a rawhide mallet, a ring mandrel, a wedge-shaped Delrin hammer, a ring clamp, a Cross-Peen hammer. In this case I have a double finned one, a Ball-Peen hammer, and I also have my jeweler's saw. It's your best cutting tool. And I also have over here a handcrafted wooden sinusoidal stake that we have a video here on the OJA on how to make this tool. It's pretty easy. So let me show you how to do it. But first, let's put on our safety glasses because you never know. And you always want to be careful when you're working with hammers and a striking surface. So the first thing that you want to do with your crazy piece of cast off grounding wire is you want to flatten it out. So it's got a bit of a bow to it. Remember, always hit the high part down towards the flat surface. Look at that. Just roll it on the surface and it's virtually flat. Okay, so your next step, you're going to take your Cross-Peen hammer. Now I like this one just because it's kind of heavy duty. And what you want to do is, without hitting your fingers, strike in the center of the wire. And what you want to do is, because this hammer will grow the metal in only 2 directions, I can build out. So let's get started. Okay, it took me a little while to stretch the metal in these 2 directions, but it's pretty easy to do. And I only started with an annealed piece of wire. I didn't go back and re-anneal several times like you might be tempted to do. You can actually over-anneal pieces and actually have the metal not function very well for you if it's too annealed. All right, so once it's done, I want to create a contrasting texture, and I want to thin down the material on the sides. So what I'm going to use is the ball end of the Ball-Peen hammer to create that type of texture. Now you just want to pay attention and not hit these little points at the end. Kind of leave them a little bit built up. It'll give your ring a better look if you do. Okay, so let's do it. Okay, so I have stretched the center of the wire and I've used the Ball-Peen hammer to create this extra texture on the sides and to thin the sides a little bit more. So now I'm basically ready to move on. Now at this point you may want to re-anneal the piece just so that you'll get the maximum bend. So we're going to break for a second and I'm going to re-anneal this, pickle it, and come back and show you how to bend it on the sinusoidal stake. Okay, so I annealed my ring blank and pickled it and cleaned it up, made it nice and shiny again, and now I'm ready to work on the sinusoidal stake. Now I'm going to use the wedge-shaped Delrin hammer with this piece of hardwood that has been carved into this antler shape. Remember, there's a video on how to make this tool. All right, so what I want to accomplish is I want to keep the curvature of the ring this way, this top part, and start to bend it over this way. Think of a Pringles potato chip, that complex curve that goes this way and this way simultaneously. Okay, so I've got it cradled in the tool, and now what I want to do is, while I'm maintaining this curve, I'm just going to start to bend it over. It's that simple. That's basically the shape that we're going for. You can see it's curving this way and this way. A double complex curve. Okay, that's all we need with this tool, so I'm going to move to the next tool, which is my ring mandrel. And what I like to do is I like to try to find a size that I'm going for. And I usually wear a size 8, so let's try to make this an 8. So I'm holding the ring blank over the 8, and basically all I need to do is just bend the sides over. Now if you need a little bit more muscle to do this, all you have to do is just hold that in place, and there are some holes in my bench to support the ring mandrel, but you guys won't be able to see it if I do it down there, so I'll do it like this. And all I need to do is just take a rawhide hammer or mallet and just start to make that bend around. Now what I want to have happen, and what I'm going for, is I want the two halves of the ring blank to come around and overlap one another. I'm not trying to get them to meet up to form a joint yet. What I want to do is I want to overlap and cut. So let's get this in the right shape. So I'll go back to the 8, and I'm going to continue to knock my piece around the mandrel. Okay, so as you can see, I'm maintaining the size that I want, and I have the two opposite sides of the ring overlapping one another. Now, if you have trouble getting this to happen, don't sweat it. You can use your half-round pliers to help bend it around. Just knock it into place so that you maintain that curvature of the ring. And if you start to get a little dimple like I did right there, you can just go back to your plastic hammer and just knock it back down. Okay, so we're ready for the next step, and that is to slice through these. It's similar to cutting through the loops that you wind onto a mandrel to create jump rings. Okay, so let me grab my jeweler saw, and I find that sometimes it may be easier to hold on to the piece if you put it into a ring clamp. Now this time I'm going to have to go a little bit to one side, but that doesn't matter as long as you're holding the ring in some way. Okay, now let me just make a slice through the back of the band. You can see that I've successfully cut through both sides of the ring blank where the two sides of the ring overlapped. Now, just like a jump ring, I want to grab both sides of these two sides of the ring blank and basically just bring them into alignment. Now, they may not be absolutely perfectly aligned at this point. I may need to shore them up a little bit on the ring mandrel, but what I can do is I can always go back and saw through the seam to create perfectly matching sides. Then I can bend the two sides of the ring blank together so that I can solder it shut. And we have a lot of videos demonstrating how to solder. Okay, I took the ring and I soldered the joint, but you can see that it's still a little bit funky and deformed. And if I slide it onto the mandrel, it's just slightly smaller than I'd like it to be. But part of that will be corrected when I ameliorate the shape. So the first thing I want to do is I want to rework this part right here with my mallet just to make it pretty again. Okay, and then I want to come down to the 8. Now, sometimes that's just correcting the shape a little bit like this. And other times I may need to add a little bit of texture. Sometimes using the Cross-Peen Hammer this way really helps. But that's what's kind of fun about this ring. It's kind of rough and dirty the way you do it. Let's see. Let me just... Okay, and the test is to see if it fits. I wear an 8 and voila, it fits. Now, the way that I would finish up this ring, if you've been following me on Instagram, you probably saw a post where I had 2 of these rings that looked sort of honey colored with a really beautiful peanut oil patina. Guess what? The OJA has a video on how to do a peanut oil patina. It's really easy. It's beautiful. It almost looks like heat staining that's going to stay that way, and it's just takes seconds to get it perfectly done. I hope you like this video. Remember, there's plenty of potential when you go into any hardware store. You can also find beautiful examples of this on our Instagram page. We also have posts to Facebook and Twitter as well. And don't forget, we release a video every week, and if you want to be the first to see that video, just click on the button in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and subscribe. And if you want to help to fund future videos, you can support us through Patreon at www.patreon.com/onlinejewelryacademy. Thanks for watching.